Part 12. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tianni. Chapter 111. Su Wenyu was stunned when she heard what Lu said. Zhang Chunlin was so persistent in Han Yu, otherwise she would not have tried every means to stay in the Han family. It was very strange that such a person would suddenly change his mind. Moreover, it was not just one young man, but several young men. This was definitely an exaggeration. Is this true? It can't be nonsense from others. Su Wenyu looked suspicious, obviously not believing Liu's words. Lu was not very thoughtful and always believed everything she heard. It's not nonsense at all. Look at her every day. Except for eating, she is not seen at all. Her foot is not healed yet. She walks with a limp. She runs out all day long. Aren't you afraid that her leg will become disabled and she can't get married? Lu spoke without restraint, basically cursing Zhang Chunlin. Su Wenyu knew that this was a groundless rumor after hearing what Lu said. She just smiled and let it go after hearing it. She didn't take it to heart. After all, there were many rumors in the village, and there was no gossip about her and Han Yu before. Fourth daughter-in-law, don't disbelieve it. Many people in the village saw it. They said Zhang Chunlin and those young men were talking and laughing in the back hill of the village. They said it was true. I don't think it's false. Maybe, but this matter is related to the reputation of the daughter after all. Others can't control it. You'd better not say such things, sister-in-law, otherwise my mother will be angry. I'll go back to my room first. Last time, Su Wenyu was also frightened by Zhang Chunlin. She didn't dare to cause trouble. Su Wenyu was quiet now. During this period, she focused her main energy on embroidery. The large embroidery she embroidered was almost finished recently. In addition to the small embroidery she embroidered before, Su Wenyu planned to go back to the Su family after the embroidery was finished and let her mother and help sell the embroidery for a good price. When Han Yu came back and saw Su Wenyu embroidering again, his brows immediately frowned, especially when he saw Su Wenyu rubbing her eyes tiredly. Her eyes were a little dim, her face was even colder, and she looked a little scary. He snatched the embroidery from Su Wenyu's hand, regardless of Su Wenyu's protest and dissatisfaction. Didn't I say that embroidery hurts your eyes? You should pay attention to rest, and you are not allowed to embroider at any time. What did you promise me before? You turned your head and ignored my words. Huh? Han Yu raised his voice for the last word, which clearly carried a bit of danger and threat. Su Wenyu was only one step away from completing the whole embroidery, so she embroidered despite her fatigue, just to finish the embroidery before the evening, so that she could send the embroidery to Su's house tomorrow, so as not to delay another day's work. Who knew that she would be interrupted at this time? Han Yu took away the embroidery without any negotiation. Su Wenyu was very reluctant and even a little angry. She wanted to lose her temper and complain a few words, but she didn't dare to say anything when she looked up and saw Han Yu's face. She felt her scalp tingling when she heard Han Yu's light but threatening words. She didn't dare to say anything more. Han Yu looked really angry, otherwise he wouldn't be so cold and stern. Since their relationship has been getting better and better, although Han Yu still has a cold face when he is outside, he is very gentle in private, and sometimes he can even be regarded as doting on her. Thinking of what Han Yu said before, Su Wenyu felt guilty and her face was stammering. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tianni. Chapter 112. Why are you looking at me like that? It's so scary. I didn't listen to you. I just have this little left and thought I might as well finish the embroidery. Su Wenyu looked at Han Yu flatteringly, with a well-behaved look on her face. Su Wenyu was impatient just now and knew the current affairs very well. Su Wenyu knew Han Yu's character very well. Han Yu must be angry at this time. If she dared to resist him, the end would definitely be miserable. Seeing that his wife's attitude was good, Han Yu's expression softened a little, but he still did not forget the lesson. You didn't say this the other time, either there is a little bit left here, or there is a petal that has not been embroidered over there, and things cannot be done. It's over. If you hurt your eyes and can't draw it, if you let me see you like this next time, you won't be allowed to embroider again. Han Yu knew what kind of temper his wife was like. If he told her properly, she would definitely do it knowingly next time, so he had to give his wife an ultimatum to let her know where his bottom line was. I know, I won't do it anymore. Su Wenaya curled her lips and said, Han Yu is a bit of a chauvinist and can be very domineering at times, so there is no room for her to resist. Han Yu sighed when he saw his wife like this. She was so petty and pouted. She was clearly dissatisfied. It was time to threaten her anyway, so he softened his voice and said, Yu Niang, do whatever you like and do whatever you like, I won't object to it, but there has to be a limit, otherwise it won't be worth it if the body is broken. Besides, we are still young and have plenty of time to do whatever we want, so there is no rush at this moment. Su Wenyu did not tell Han Yu about her plan to make money by selling embroidery, so Han Yu always thought that Su Wenyu was obsessed with embroidery because she liked it. Otherwise, if he knew that Su Wenyu was doing embroidery so hard to make money, he would be even more reluctant and would also guilty. Su Wenyu also considered this aspect and did not tell Han Yu. She just wanted to get things done first and then tell Han Yu when she had to. Su Wenyu was originally a little dissatisfied with Han Yu's machismo, but she felt much better after hearing Han Yu's explanation. After all, Han Yu was also thinking about her body. In his previous life, apart from scolding her when he was angry, he did not do anything else. He ignored her when he was young. In comparison, although such a lesson is a bit chauvinistic, it makes people feel heartwarming. My husband, I know you are doing it for my own good. I won't do it anymore. Don't worry. I'm really tired after saying that. My husband, can you rub your shoulders for me, Su Wenyu said with a cute look on her face. She leaned in Han Yu's arms, like a lazy cat. Han Yu's heart was full of love when he saw her, and he resignedly rubbed Su Wenyu's shoulders. Su Wenyu curled her lips in enjoyment, and a cunning look flashed in her eyes. Han Yu's skills were really getting better and better after being trained by her. It was so comfortable. When Su Wenyu got up early the next morning, she finished the remaining embroidery work, put all the embroidery work she had embroidered over the past few days into her bag, and put together several sets of clothes she had made for her parents and two brothers. After taking it out, he called Xiao 11 and went back to her parents' home together. Originally, Han Yu wanted to accompany him in person. He just made an appointment with someone to go hunting in the mountains. Su Wenyu proposed last night that she wanted to go back to her parents' home. It was not a dangerous matter, so she asked Xiao 11 to accompany her. In the morning before setting off to the mountains, I specifically asked Xiao 11 to go out. Hey, third cousin sister-in-law, you are going back to your natal family. Why are you still carrying a baggage? It's not like you are collecting things from your husband's family and bringing them back to support your natal family. This is unacceptable. Zhang Chunlin hadn't gone out at this time. When she saw Su Wenyu and Xiao 11 leading the carriage, she said sarcastically. Su Wenyu didn't care if the tone was yin or yang, but Xiao 11 couldn't stand it at all. Cousin, what are you talking about? It's up to you to take care of what our young lady wants to do. Besides, what kind of family is the Su family? They still need young ladies to supplement them, but young lady cousin comes from a ravine. I have been poor since I was a child and don't have much knowledge, so it's normal for me to be confused about the situation. Yes, Xiao 11 is right, Chunlin, if you are ignorant, don't talk nonsense, so as not to be embarrassed, Mrs. Lu said with a smile as she listened. Since the call to the Han family, compared with Su Wenyu, Zhang Chunlin's most taboo is her own origin. Being robbed of her dignity by Xiao 11, She was a little annoyed. She was ridiculed by Lu, and her face turned red, but she retorted. Nothing came out. She was the one who said the words. She kicked off her feet angrily and ran out. The jealousy and hatred on her face was even more shocking. However, neither Su Wenyu nor Xiao 11 took it seriously. Zhang Chunlin looked down upon such a clown, so much so that she almost suffered a big loss. Sister-in-law, I'm going first. Seeing Zhang Chunlin running out, Su Wenyu said hello to Mrs. Lu and took Xiao 11 back to her parents' home. Go, I'll take care of things at home. You can play more at your parents' house, don't worry. Ms. Lu waved her hand and said, she was extremely happy for Su Wenyu to return to her parents' house, even though there were fewer people to work at home. Share the burden. It's not the busy farming season and there's not much to do. Besides, we still have the hard-working second brother and sister at home. The important thing is that Su Wenyu has not gone back to her parents' home. She will definitely bring back a lot of things, including food and drink. They don't have anything to eat or drink. Take less light. Because of the last experience, Mr. Su and Mrs. Su were a little worried about Su Wenyu's situation in the Han family. They were afraid that she would be wronged in the Han family. When they heard that their daughter had suddenly returned, they immediately became worried and hurriedly went to greet her. Dad. Mom, Su Wenyu looked at Mr. Su and Mrs. Su with a smile. Seeing that their daughter was in good spirits and smiling, it was obvious that she had been doing well these days, so Master Su and Madam Su were relieved. You, why did you come back on this day? Your father and I thought something happened to you again and scared us, and said with a smile. She didn't mean that she didn't want her daughter to come back. In fact, she hoped that her daughter would come back more often, but in this era, married daughters don't often go back to their parents' home. Even if the husband's family doesn't care, others will gossip about it. Dad and Mom, don't worry, I'm doing well in the Han family. Look at me these days. Have I gained weight? Although the Han family is not rich and the food and accommodation cannot be too good, Han Yu loves me. Every time he goes back hunting, he will secretly roast some delicious food for me and bring it back. This has made me fat. Su Wenyu didn't want to worry her parents, and Han Yu was really good to her. Then we feel relieved, but you haven't told me why you suddenly came back. Is there something wrong? Mrs. N understood her daughter well. Since she was living well in the Han family and had become much more sensible during this period, she would not run back to her parents' home for no reason. Something must have happened. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tianni. Chapter 113. Mom, you still understand me? My daughter needs your help with something. Su Wenyu coquettishly took An's arm with a matter-of-fact expression. Tell me, what is it that you need your mother to help you with? She pulled Su Wenyu to sit down, and felt very relieved when she saw that her daughter was not separated from her. Su Wenyu unpacked the baggage she had brought and brought some embroidered pictures to An. Mom, what do you think of these embroideries? They are much better than those embroidered by our embroidery mother. If they were placed with us, if I go to my embroidery shop to sell it, I will definitely get a good price. This is this. Ms. N took the embroidery in her hand and looked at it. She originally thought that the embroidery was embroidered by her daughter, but she was not sure after seeing it. The embroidery work was so good, could she still be at her daughter's level? You know, even if it rises suddenly, it won't reach this point all of a sudden. The embroidery work on this piece is quite good. If you sell it in our embroidery workshop, it will fetch a good price. Even the best embroiderer in Chang'an City can only do this. Yu Niang, where did you get this embroidery? Then who is the embroiderer? If possible, you can invite her to our home and get favorable treatment. Although An is just a stay-at-home woman, she is very good at business. She takes care of her dowry business in an orderly manner. As soon as she sees these embroideries, she knows that the embroiderer is definitely a talented person. If you can recruit someone to work in your own embroidery workshop, you are definitely a go-getter. There is actually competition between various embroidery workshops. Mom, don't believe me. These are all embroidered by your daughter and me. How about your embroidery skills? It's not easy to get praise from you, Mom, Suwenayu said with a smile. She didn't want to hide this matter from An. No matter what, I can't hide it. Not only this time, but also the embroidery she will embroider in the future will be sold in her mother's embroidery workshop. What's more, she is her own mother, so there is nothing she can't say. You are joking with me again. Does your embroiderer mother still know? You can tell if you embroidered it at a glance. She didn't believe Suwenayu's words at all. If it were someone else who said this, she would still believe it. It is her own daughter that she knows too well. Suwenayu obviously knew this truth and did not argue with An. She just took the needle and thread and showed it in front of An. She felt a little proud when she saw An's surprised look on her face. Mom, do you believe it now? This embroidery was really made by your daughter and me. Your daughter is so capable, nothing is impossible. What kind of person is An? He has experienced many things, and he quickly reacted. When he saw his daughter looking proud, he was angry and funny. I believe you can do it. My daughter is now capable. She can actually embroider such good embroidery. She has really grown up. When you were still at home, you refused to listen no matter how hard I tried to persuade you. But now. An's heart was a little bit proud at first, but now she heard correctly that her daughter wanted to embroider the embroidery and sell it in the embroidery shop. Her daughter, who had grown up so doting on her, now became her beloved daughter. But in order to earn money from such hard embroidery, she does the work that only an embroiderer can do. You, tell your mother the truth. Is it because the Han family treats you badly that they make you work so hard to embroider and sell your embroidery for money? Didn't your parents prepare some money for you when you got married? No matter how much you spend, you can't use up thousands of taels of silver so quickly, so why do you need to embroider and sell money? Yes, daughter, if you don't have any money to spend, tell Dad that you don't have to work so hard to embroider and sell money. I don't know what it feels like to see you like this. Mr. Su didn't think as much as An. But I can't bear to have my daughter work so hard. When Suwenayu got married, Mr. Su and Mrs. Su did not prepare too much dowry for their daughter. They also considered the actual situation and were afraid that they would give too much dowry for their daughter to keep and let those with ill intentions take advantage of her daughter. My daughter's temperament is really not suitable for handing too many things to her. Instead of spending it on her all at once, it is better to wait for her to be more sensible and support her more when needed in the future. Father, Mother, you are overthinking. I didn't spend much on the dowry you prepared for me. I'm not short of money. I just want to make money based on my own abilities. I don't have any other skills. I'm just a passable embroiderer. I just came up with this idea, and I have to rely on my mother to help me get it to the embroidery shop to sell it. Mr. Su and Mrs. Su originally wanted to persuade his daughter not to work so hard, but seeing that her daughter was very motivated, she held back what she wanted to say. The daughter could just do it herself. It seems that our daughter has really grown up. Well, I will accept these pieces of embroidery for my mother's sake, and said, and took out 500 taels of silver from the box and handed it to Suwenayu. At this price, the price was obviously higher than the market price, but the embroidery shop would not suffer a loss after selling it. Suwenayu did not refuse, accepted the money with a smile, and then took out another baggage. Father, Mother, these are the clothes I made for you and your brother. You try them on to see if they fit you. My dear daughter, you have made clothes for Daddy. Come and show them to daddy. Mr. Su was so happy to hear that his daughter had made clothes for him personally that he quickly took the new clothes to try on. The same was true for An. Couldn't wait to put on the clothes made by her daughter. This was the first time her daughter made clothes for them, and they actually fit them very well. Oh, our daughter is really sensible. Look how filial she is. She is much more filial than your two brothers and those two brats. Mr. Su put the clothes on and was reluctant to take them off. His daughter made them for him. The clothes I wear are more comfortable than those made by Xiu Niang. Su Wenyu watched her parents so happy, her face was also full of smiles. In her previous life, she was unfilial and could not appreciate her parents' painstaking efforts, so that it developed to such a point later. In this life, she would never leave such regrets again. Yu Niang, it's only been a short time. You are embroidering and making clothes. Don't work too hard. It's not worth it if you hurt your body. Although An was also happy about her daughter's kindness, women are more careful after all, and they consider different things. Yu, your mother is right. You can do whatever you want, but don't hurt your body. If you need money, just let me know. Dad has it here. Master Su also hurriedly said after hearing what his wife said. Dad, Mom, don't worry, I know my limits. Besides, Hanyu is watching me every day. I'm afraid that I'm too tired. Otherwise, I will do more than this. Hearing that their son-in-law knew how to sympathize with their daughter, Master Su and Madame Su felt quite comforted. By the way, when will Big Brother come back? It's been a long time since Big Brother escorted grandfather to Chang'an City. It's time for him to come back. Su Wenyu asked as soon as she remembered. Big Brother loved her since she was a child. She hasn't seen her big brother since she was reborn, and she misses him very much. When Mr. Su and Mrs. Su heard Su Wenyu's question, their faces changed slightly. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tian. Chapter 114. Seeing this, Su Wenyu thought something had happened to Su Henji and became anxious. In her previous life, she had not heard that something happened to her eldest brother. Could it be that her rebirth changed the established trajectory? Dad, Mom, what's going on? Did something happen to Big Brother? Otherwise, why wouldn't he come back now? Tell me now. Don't worry, good girl. Nothing happened to your eldest brother. He just stayed in Chang'an and has not come back for the time being. The situation in Chang'an is too chaotic. Your eldest brother stayed there to take care of us. Moreover, for us businessmen, there are also business opportunities in troubled times. The business over there also requires your elder brother to be in charge. Mr. Su became anxious when he saw that his daughter had misunderstood him, and quickly explained that they were just worried about something, so they showed signs of it, but Mr. Su didn't. I plan to make my daughter worry. The reason why Su Henji stayed in Chang'an was also because of Master Su's intention. Since many things in Su Wenyu's dream came true, Master Su believed in the authenticity of his daughter's dream even more, and made a series of arrangements accordingly, including in Chang'an. Some things are too important to be revealed. Even if he doesn't go through it himself, there must be someone who can take charge of it. Su Henji is this candidate. That's good, no matter what, safety is the most important thing. Where is the second brother? Why haven't you seen him? Are you out to do something? Su Wenyu looked around and saw no sign of Su Hongxian. Su Wenyu knew her second brother too well. If the second brother is at home, he must have come over as soon as he knew she was coming back. If he hasn't shown up yet, he must have not gone out at home. Speaking of Su Hongxian, Mr. Su put a smile on his face again. Speaking of your second brother, I have good news to tell you. You don't want fanbang seeds. Your second brother has collected many for you. Now the seeds have been shipped here. Your second brother went out for this purpose. Your seeds will be here when he comes back. Ask him to deliver them to you when the time comes. Send it to Zhuangzi. I won't be able to go there temporarily. Zioxi is taking care of it for me. I will ask Zioxi to stay and deal with the matter before returning to the Han family. That's fine, Mr. Su nodded. He had always seen Xiao 11's loyalty. He was happy to see such a loyal slave beside his daughter. Moreover, Xiao 11 grew up in the Su family and was loved by the two brothers Su Hengji and Su Hongxian. He has been trained well and can be considered a talent. Staying with his daughter is also a help. Dad, these seeds brought by foreign countries can be planted not only on my side, but also on our village. In such troubled times, it is hard to predict anything else, but this food is the most important. Su Wenyu was not in vain. Remind Mr. Su. Han Yu was worried about going back late, so Su Wenyu went back to the Han family after lunch. Because of the seeds, Su Wenyu left Xiao 11 at the Han family and asked Xiao 11 to arrange things in the village, but Xiao 11 was very unhappy. Don't worry, especially as Han Yu warned her before setting off in the morning. Miss, why don't I send you back to the Han family first? I won't be worried if you go back alone. Besides, my uncle told me before departure that I must protect the young lady and not make any mistakes. What is there to be worried about? What else could happen in broad daylight? Besides, I am alone here. There is also a boy driving the carriage. It is true that you can take care of things in the village for me. Seeing Su Wenyu's insistence, Xiao 11 saw that there was a boy driving a carriage to see her off in the clear sky, so nothing should happen, so she could only follow Su Wenyu's wishes. What's wrong? Why did it suddenly stop? Su Wenyu was sitting in the carriage and felt that the carriage suddenly stopped and asked with some confusion. Miss, there seems to be someone blocking the road ahead, as if they are coming for us. The boy's voice was a little nervous. This section of the road was a bit remote, and there were no people nearby. There were several people blocking the road, and there were only two of them, the master and the servant, on the carriage. It's obviously no match for humans. Su Wenyu opened the curtain after hearing this, and she saw several young men in front and behind the carriage, surrounding their carriage. Some of them looked familiar to her, like they were from Xinhe village, but she didn't know that these people were blocking the carriage. What exactly is going on here? The group of juniors also saw Su Wenyu coming out. Some saw Su Wenyu's appearance and blew a few loud whistles. Hey, she is really a rare beauty. She is thin and tender. She is worthy of being a young lady from a wealthy family. She is really beautiful. Yes, no wonder the fourth child of the Han family was so fascinated that he left his cousin behind. It would have been the same result no matter who he chose. Who are you? What are you doing in the middle of the road? Get out of my way. Su Wenyu paid attention to the situation around her. She felt bad after hearing the meaning of these people's words. This group of people had obviously come prepared. He was at a disadvantage again, but even though he was worried, Su Wenyu didn't show it, and scolded her with a stern expression on her face. Tisk, tisk, you're still pretending to be a young lady. This way of dealing with your little cousin is fine, but I won't let you do this, a young man said in a frivolous manner, which caused several young men to laugh and rush. They came around with Su Wenyu and his carriage. What do you want to do? Do you know who my young lady is? If you dare to touch my young lady, neither the master nor the young master will spare you. Even though he was scared, the boy still had the courage to stand in front of Su Wenyu, even if he ran away now. When the time comes, the master will not be able to spare him, so he might as well behave better now. If he can get through this, he may still be reused by the master in the future. Tisk. How funny. If we don't know who your young lady is, why are we here? Do you think we are bored? The young man's tone became more and more disdainful, as if he was telling a joke. Su Wenyu was not stupid. After careful consideration, she had guessed something in her heart. These people were waiting here specially. They obviously knew her identity and itinerary. Not many people knew that she was going back to her parents' home. Thinking of what Lu said that day, Zhang Chunlin often hung out with a few young men in the village who were not doing their jobs properly recently. These things seemed to be connected. Aki, Han Yu's name is Xiaoqi, what's wrong with you? Why are you a little absent-minded today? Did something happen at home? Chen Shuang asked worriedly when he saw that Han Yu was not in good condition. Han Yu shook his head, but frowned. He didn't know what happened today. He was always a little uneasy. This situation had never happened before. Thinking that his wife had returned to her parents' home, Han Yu decided to go home early to see her. Shuang, we have hunted enough prey for today, why don't we go back early? Han Yu said as he had already started to finish his work. Chen Shuang has always been easy to talk to, so naturally there was nothing he could not say. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tianni. Chapter 115. They are numerous, we are no match for them, Aben, I'll count to 1, 2, 3, you see the opportunity and we'll rush out in the carriage. Su Wenyu looked at the young men surrounding her and said calmly, holding the hairpin pulled from her head tightly in her hand, revealing her nervousness. Aben was sent to send Su Wenyu because he was usually smart. He was a man who could take responsibility and stay calm in the face of danger. After listening to Su Wenyu's words, he nodded carefully and rushed out in the carriage after listening to Su Wenyu's command. Want to run? No way. Several young men were rushed by the carriage, but there were still two more powerful ones inside, who tripped the horse and stopped the carriage. Miss, run. I'll stop you from behind. Seeing this, Aben fought with the people who rushed up to buy time for Su Wenyu. Su Wenyu was not hypocritical, talking about the deep love between master and servant, and ran away. Those people were originally coming for her. As long as she ran away, Aben should not be in any big trouble. On the contrary, she was a woman, and the world was harsh on women. If she was caught up by those people, even if nothing happened, it was inevitable that some unpleasant words would be spread, not to mention that those people were targeting her. Su Wenyu suffered a lot from her reputation in her previous life, and she understood the pain better than most people, so she held a belief that she must not let those people catch up, let alone let her reputation be damaged because of this incident. But no matter what, Su Wenyu was a woman after all, and a daughter who grew up in the boudoir. Even if she ran faster, she could not be faster than those young men who usually ran around the village. It didn't take long for her to be caught up. At this moment, Su Wenyu felt a little desperate. Could it be that she tried her best to live a good life in this life, but she still couldn't escape a bad ending in the end, and she would still be burdened by her reputation in the end? You bitch, run, run, where can you run to? What do you want? I have no grudge against you. Who ordered you? Is it Zhang Chunlin? Whatever benefits she promised you, I can give you as well. Su Wenyu tried to keep a distance from the people in front of her, while mediating with them. It would be best if these people were willing to let her go for the sake of benefits. This girl is quite smart. She guessed it right at the first guess. As for the benefits, your husband's good cousin hates you to death. In order to let us deal with you, she has pledged her body. If you can pledge your body, there is nothing that brothers cannot agree to, even if you want us to turn around and deal with your husband's good cousin. Several young men looked at Su Wenyu's face with lust. Su Wenyu's beauty was far more attractive than Zhang Chunlin's, who came to her door. This was also the reason why they agreed to Zhang Chunlin's action on Su Wenyu, because they had long coveted Su Wenyu's beauty. Moreover, Su Wenyu was the daughter of the Su family. As long as they got Su Wenyu's body, they could use it as a handle in the future. Su Wenyu would not dare to disobey them. Whatever they wanted, Su Wenyu had to get them. Not to mention the things of the Su family, Su Wenyu's own dowry was also quite a lot. Thinking of this, those people showed undisguised greed on their faces. Su Wenayu's face turned red because of these dirty words. She knew that today would not end well. Although she could not be called a chaste woman, she would never let these people succeed after such a painful lesson in her last life. Otherwise, her fate in this life would be even worse than that in the last life. She would rather die than live a life of being despised and looked down upon by others. Don't come over here, or I'll die in front of you. Don't think that what you did today is so secretive. I can guess it at will, and so can others. If I die today, my husband will not let you go, nor will the Su family, and the government will behead you murderers. Su Wenayu put the hairpin in her hand against her neck and said sternly, with a resolute look on her face. The faces of the young men who had been somewhat indifferent showed worry and fear. You stinky woman, you dare to scare us, die, who are you trying to scare? I don't believe you really dare, you die one and let me see. One of the young men looked more fierce and looked down on women. He obviously didn't believe Su Wenayu very much, and said disdainfully, and was about to force Su Wenayu. Su Wenayu had originally held on to a few glimmers of hope, and wanted to use this method to force the person to retreat. At this point, she could only harden her heart, and increase the strength in her hand, and resolutely stabbed the hairpin into her neck a few inches. Blood instantly flowed down her neck. The young man with a fierce face was also frightened by Su Wenayu's behavior. He didn't expect Su Wenayu to really dare. They did this today not because they were not afraid of Hanyu and the Su family, but just wanted to control Su Wenayu's mind with threats. Now things obviously did not develop as they expected. Su Wenayu's temper was too fierce. She would rather die than compromise. If Su Wenayu really got into trouble, they would all be in big trouble. You don't, we won't come over, don't think too much, we are just joking with you, we won't really do anything to you, put down the things in your hands, let's talk it out. All of you back off, don't come over. Su Wenayu's face was pale, not because of excessive bleeding, after all, the hairpin only pierced a few centimeters, so the bleeding was not too much, she was in pain. Most women are afraid of pain, and Su Wenayu is no exception. She didn't really want to die. She was finally reborn, and she hadn't lived through her life yet. She couldn't bear to die unless it was absolutely necessary. Su Wenayu's appearance frightened these young people. They were afraid that Su Wenayu would do something more drastic, so they stepped back spontaneously without caring about anything else. It was that dead woman Zhang Chunlin who got them into such trouble. This woman is so cruel to herself, she is definitely not a character to be trifled with. Boss, how about we withdraw? If Su Wenayu is really dead, the Su family and the Han family will not let us go. Then Hanyu is a ruthless character, and the Su family is not easy to mess with. What happened today? Let's go out and hide as soon as possible. The leading disciple was still a little hesitant. Before he could make a decision, the few disciples he brought saw the people in the distance and ran away without caring about others. If Hanyu caught them, that's it. Boss, Hanyu is here, run. There was still a conscientious person among the younger generation who reminded him, but he just reminded him and ran away in a panic. Hanyu came back from hunting in the mountains. He knew that Su Wenayu hadn't come back yet. Thinking about how he was panicking for no reason today, he became more and more uneasy. He was afraid that something had happened to his wife, so he went to pick her up without even changing her clothes. What he saw when he arrived was such a heartbreaking scene. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, TNNI. Chapter 116. Hanyu was concerned about Su Wenayu. When he saw those young men running away, he did not try to stop them. Instead, he rushed over and hugged Su Wenayu. "MRSU, wife, how are you? Hold on. I'll take you to see a doctor right away. Han Yu said this. Seeing the wound on Su Wenayu's neck, he did not dare to move, fearing that any movement would aggravate Su Wenayu's injury. He froze there holding Su Wenayu for a while. Those people ran away. Aubin's injury was not too serious. He immediately ran over to see Su Wenayu's situation. Seeing Han Yu's reaction, he was a little speechless. It was said that the son-in-law was a powerful and capable man. Why did he act stupidly at this time? It seemed that he was too worried about the young lady. Son-in-law, the young lady was injured. Let's bandage her first and ask the doctor to treat her. This is not a solution. Aubin was afraid that the injury would become more serious if he continued to delay, so he had to remind her. Yes, call the doctor. This place is not far from the village. I will stop the bleeding for you Niang first and send her back to lie down. You drive to call the doctor immediately. Han Yu also realized his loss of composure at this time. It was mainly because Su Wenayu's face was frighteningly pale, which made him panic for a while. After a careful examination, he found that Su Wenayu's injury was not so serious. There were no other wounds found except on the neck. Anyway, this place is not far from the village, so Han Yu simply carried the person steadily and walked back to the Han family, so as to avoid rushing on the carriage, and let Aubin go to call the doctor back quickly. What happened? The fourth daughter-in-law was fine when she went out. What happened? The Han family looked at Han Yu holding the pale and weak Su Wenayu in, and they were all surprised. Han Laotu and Yang asked worriedly, not understanding why the person went back to her mother's house in the morning, but became like this when she came back. Moreover, when they looked closer, the location of the fourth daughter-in-law's wound also made them have to think more. Zhang Chunlin usually hangs out until the evening, but today she is at home. When she sees Han Yu carrying Su Wenayu back, a strange light flashes across her face, and there is a hint of success and madness in the depths of her eyes. This time Su Wenayu's reputation is ruined, let's see how arrogant she can be. Zhang Chunlin is in pain and hate. No one knows how much she paid to deal with Su Wenayu. In order to let those people help her deal with Su Wenayu, she was deceived so badly that even the most important thing for a woman was taken away by those people. How can she let Su Wenayu live well and be loved by her cousin? She will not have a good end, and Su Wenayu will never live a happy life. After this incident, her cousin will definitely not like Su Wenayu, an unchanged asked woman, anymore. Dad, Mom, don't worry, I just... Su Wenayu had really lost her strength at this time, and she didn't want to say anything about the pain. After all, the wound on her neck was pierced by a hairpin, and any movement would cause the wound to hurt. However, Su Wenayu didn't want her husband's family to misunderstand her. She had tried her best to keep her innocence, and she understood the importance of reputation to a woman, so she struggled to explain, but was interrupted by Han Yu. Han Yu did not hide his heartache. Yu Eniang, you are injured, don't talk. Dad, Mom, on the way back, Yu Yang met a group of bandits. The bandits had bad intentions. Yu Yang fought hard to protect her innocence, which led to her current state. I am going to bandage Yu Yang's wounds now. Please help me get a basin of hot water and a clean towel. Han Yu could not care about anything else now. He was concerned about Su Wenayu. If it were normal, Yang would feel uncomfortable because her son valued his daughter-in-law too much. At this time, she was injured and became like this. In order to protect her innocence and be loyal to her son, Yang was worried and comforted. Their family married a good daughter-in-law. Zhang Chunlin originally thought that after this incident, Su Wenayu would definitely be disliked by Han Yu for losing her innocence. Unexpectedly, Han Yu showed more care than before. Even after listening to Han Yu's explanation, things did not develop as she imagined. Su Wenayu was not abused by those people. She became like this in order to protect her innocence, so she was injured on her neck. How could this happen? It was clearly planned well. When those people got Su Wenayu's body, she would have a handle on Su Wenayu. In the future, Su Wenayu would be like a dog in front of her, letting her do whatever she wanted, and she would never be so arrogant again. But things turned out like this. Not only did she fail to achieve her goal, but she backfired. Seeing her cousin's distressed face, he wanted to hold her in his hands. Zhang Chunlin's jealousy reached the extreme. After hearing Han Yu's words, old man Han and Yang hurried to prepare things. Lu stood there, with some worry on her face, but more curiosity. It's really strange. How can there be bandits in broad daylight? Could it be that they are attracted by the beauty of the fourth daughter-in-law? But the fourth daughter-in-law is indeed beautiful. Even we women find her pleasing to the eye, let alone men, not to mention that she has such a good family background. Oh, those bandits must have known the family background of the fourth daughter-in-law and wanted to take advantage of her, so they wanted to target her. Lu seemed to have suddenly thought of something, slapped her thigh and said, the more she talked, the more she felt it made sense. That must be the case, but the fourth daughter-in-law's return to her parents' home was decided suddenly. I only knew that the fourth daughter-in-law was going back to her parents' home in the morning, and not many people knew about it. How did those bandits know about it? Lu was smart for once and found that something was wrong. The family had experienced such a thing. The last time the family was robbed, it was Wang who colluded with her family. It was not difficult for Lu to make an association. Liu's character was obviously not one to hide her thoughts. She was already very dissatisfied with Zhang Chunlin. In addition to Zhang Chunlin's recent behavior, she naturally turned her suspicion to Zhang Chunlin. Zhang Chunlin was originally the most motivated to do this. Big cousin, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say anything. Fourth cousin had an accident on the way back. What does it have to do with me? Maybe she was too ostentatious on weekdays, so she was remembered by the bandits. Don't try to throw dirty water on me. Zhang Chunlin was guilty of being a thief. At this time, she didn't care about being jealous of Su Wenayu. She hurriedly refuted. If the people of the Han family knew that she did this, she couldn't stay in the Han family. And her cousin's performance just now also made her feel very bad. Su Wenayu was so nervous. If her cousin knew that she did this, she didn't know how her cousin would treat her. As for the Su family, Zhang Chunlin finally remembered her mother Yang Juxiang's advice at this time. She couldn't afford to offend the Su family. If this matter was exposed, the Su family would not forgive her. She hoped that those bastards would not be caught by Han Yu and the Su family. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tianni. Chapter 117. Abin drove the carriage at a faster speed, and he drove the horse even faster. He quickly invited Dr. Lin, who usually diagnoses the Su family's pulse, to come over. Dr. Lin heard that something happened to the young lady of the Su family and did not dare to delay. Carrying the medicine box, he hurriedly followed the young man to the Han family. He was relieved when he saw that Su Wenayu's injury was not serious, but he still calmed down and took a closer look. He diagnosed and treated Su Wenayu. Dr. Lin first looked at Su Wenayu's wound. Because Su Wenayu did not have enough strength to control it at that time, although the wound looked a bit scary, it was not a big problem and it would not be life-threatening. At most, it would bleed a little. Han Yu often went hunting in the mountains, so he could still handle minor injuries like this very well. Dr. Lin Yu nodded, but his brows furrowed when he checked Su Wenayu's pulse. Han Yu was relieved to see that Su Wenayu's face had improved a lot, but when he saw Dr. Lin's reaction, his heart began to lift again. Her daughter-in-law had been pampered since she was a child, and her body was inevitably a little more delicate. Marrying into the Han family these days is also a hardship, don't worry. Something really went wrong. Dr. Lin, how is my wife? Han Yu finally held back and asked urgently after the doctor checked Su Wenayu's pulse. Dr. Lin pondered for a moment before saying, "It's not a big problem, but I'm a little weak and frightened, so I have to take good care of myself. When I'm fine, I'll lie in bed more often. Don't do tiring work. You should also pay attention to what you eat. If there's anything, if you feel uncomfortable, call me immediately." Dr. Lin and the Su family have known each other for so many years. They have not been friends for a long time. Based on Su Wenayu's perspective, some uncertain things were not revealed. However, in order to prevent accidents, they still gave a few instructions. Seeing how nervous Hanyu was towards Su Wenayu, to this extent, there shouldn't be any problems if you give instructions like this. Hanyu became more and more uneasy when he heard what Dr. Lin said. He said that there was no big problem, but Dr. Lin's instructions were so careful. He must have his considerations and reasons. Moreover, if the food at home was only for his wife, she would cook the stove once or twice. It's okay, I'm afraid someone will have objections if there are too many. Even though Wang is pregnant, it's not that special. At most, he stews soup or boils eggs every now and then. He can often bring roasted game back. But this grilled thing is very hot and has no nutrition. Hearing that the doctor said that his daughter-in-law was weak, Hanyu wished he could take good care of his daughter-in-law and take good care of her. But with the current situation of the Han family, everyone living together, if he really went too far, he would not care about Su Wenayu. Well, Hanyu's kindness to people is not superficial, but truly considers others' shoes. Thinking about it this way, the matter of family separation has come to Hanyu's mind again. After Dr. Lin explained to Hanyu, he only prescribed a few tonics for Su Wenayu. The herbs in them were all warm and tonic, and there were no herbs with strong medicinal properties. After all, if that was true, using too many herbs would not be good for Su Wenayu. Hanyu didn't know much about medicinal materials except for some commonly used wound medicines. He couldn't see any difference between these pictures. Even so, Dr. Lin's reaction was a bit abnormal. Normally, with Hanyu's shrewdness, he's whom he would definitely find something unusual about Dr. Lin, but today he was worried about Su Wenayu more than others, so he didn't pay attention to other things. As the saying goes, caring leads to chaos, and the same is true for Hanyu. Su Wenayu didn't notice the problem, but felt that Dr. Lin was making a fuss. Her own body knew that she was just frightened today and was so weak. But even if she wanted to refute at this time, looking at Hanyu like this, he definitely couldn't listen, so he could only listen to the doctor's instructions obediently. "Thank you, Dr. Lin. We will take good care of you, Enyang." "Sorry for bothering you." Dr. Lin did not shy away from the rest of the Han family when he warned. Old Man Han and Mrs. Yang were originally worried when they saw their daughter-in-law looking so pale and embarrassed. "I didn't think what the doctor said was too serious at all, so I nodded in agreement." Although Wang didn't come out very often, she had always paid attention to the situation outside. Knowing that Zhang Chunlin really took action against Su Wenayu and still used that method, Wang didn't feel it was excessive at all, only the excitement and pleasure of revenge that could not be suppressed. It can be said that a large part of the reason why Zhang Chunlin hates Su Wenayu so much is because of the role she played in it. That idiot Zhang Chunlin finally had some role. Seeing Su Wenayu being hugged back by Hanyu, Wang's first reaction was the same as Zhang Chunlin's. They all felt the pleasure of succeeding. However, the result was obviously disappointing and even angry. She had spent so much money. He tried to encourage that idiot Zhang Chunlin, but in the end, Su Wenayu was only slightly injured. Other than that, there was no damage at all. On the contrary, because of this incident, Su Wenayu's reputation has increased, and Zhenli's temperament has been recognized by the Han family. Ben is from the Su family. When he went to ask for the doctor, he did not forget to ask someone to report the news to the Su family. Not long after Dr. Lin left, Mr. Su and Mrs. Su hurried to the Han family, both with worried faces. I still felt heartbroken when I learned that my daughter was only slightly injured and was not seriously injured. After all, Mr. Su is more masculine, but Mrs. Su thinks differently. Although he is not unreasonable, he doesn't have a good attitude towards Han Yu. Ever since her daughter married into the Han family, she has been in trouble. This mother-in-law is very worried. Mom, don't worry. I was just slightly injured. It's okay. I looked like I scared you, Su Wenyu comforted Mr. Su and Mrs. Su with a smile. When Su Hongxian returned home and learned that something had happened to his sister, he rushed over immediately. After confirming that nothing serious had happened to his sister, he became angry at those daring gangsters. Don't worry, little sister. Since these daring people dare to target my sister, I will not let any of them go. You should take good care of your injuries and get well. I can't stand seeing you in such a sick state. By the way, little sister, do you know who those people are? Yes, my dear girl, where did those criminals come from? How dare they be so bold to attack my daughter? After showing concern for his daughter, Mr. Su also investigated the whole matter. Although Han Yu hadn't had time to ask, he stared at Su Wenyu after hearing this, wanting to know more from Su Wenyu. I'm not sure, but those criminals looked familiar. They didn't seem to be habitual criminals, but some idle young men who seemed to come specifically for me. Two of them looked familiar, but I can't remember when I saw them. Aubin was there at the time, so you can ask daddy and second brother. Su Wenyu knew that Zhang Chunlin did it, and it was confirmed by those criminals, but she didn't say the truth. After all, words alone were not enough, and Zhang Chunlin was her mother-in-law's niece, so it was better not to let her say these things. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tianni. Chapter 118. Zhang Chunlin has something on her mind, and she has become more honest in the past few days. She doesn't dare to go out and wander around. Once the people in the Han family know about her relationship with those people, she is also afraid that those people will be cornered and pester her, but she always faces Han. Yu's cold eyes always made her heart tremble. At this time, she didn't care how much she liked her cousin. If she wasn't afraid of being suspected, she would have wanted to go home. Third cousin, what should I do? If my fourth cousin and the people in the Su family know that I hired someone to do this, they will definitely not let me go. Please think of a way to save me. Zhang Chunlin, when she couldn't bear it anymore, she went to find Wang. She said that Wang had strongly agreed with this matter at the beginning, but now that it had reached this point, she was so panicked that she had already lost her plan and could only ask Wang for advice. In order to provoke Zhang Chunlin and Su Wenyu to go against each other, Wang had often given Zhang Chunlin advice in the past, and Zhang Chunlin had already developed a habit of doing this. Wang's status in the Han family is unstable. Even if she has a child in her belly, the Han family does not dare to treat her harshly. But after what happened before, unless she can give birth to a son in one fell swoop, she can only keep a low profile in the Han family. Zhang Chunlin was afraid to live her life, and she was also afraid of getting involved in this matter. When she saw Zhang Chunlin, an idiot, coming to her in a hurry to ask for advice, her face was not very good, and she had already cursed in her heart. If not for the fear that Zhang Chunlin would talk nonsense in a hurry and drag her out, Wang would have wanted to drive her out of the room. But now she could only do her best to appease Zhang Chunlin and prevent Zhang Chunlin from wanting to drag her out. It was tiring and laborious, and I almost dried up my saliva. It was considered a self-inflicted mistake. Chunlin, don't worry. You didn't do this. What does those young people have to do with you? When the fourth brother asks, you can just deny it. Anyway, they have no evidence, so they can't rely on those people's nonsense. It makes no sense to slander you. After all, you are also her cousin, and even her mother-in-law will not let you be wronged in vain. Wang said, as long as Zhang Chunlin does not admit it, the matter will not be related to her. Really? But the fourth cousin looked at me as if he wanted to eat people. I'm really scared. Otherwise, I'd better go back. After thinking about it, Zhang Chunlin still felt that she didn't have the courage. The fourth cousin felt angry. It was scary when she was angry. She would never dare to confront her fourth cousin. If you go back, it doesn't mean that you have a guilty conscience, but it will arouse suspicion. Besides, even if you go back, the fourth brother and the people of the Su family will not be able to find you. At least you have your mother-in-law to protect you here. Even if the fourth brother wants, if I embarrass you, for the sake of my mother-in-law, I will be a little tolerant. If you go back and let the fourth brother have no worries, then it will be really bad. This brainless idiot, who made Wang feel so depressed, had to analyze the pros and cons for Zhang Chunlin, fearing that she would do something stupid and harm herself. Fortunately, although Zhang Chunlin was stupid, she still listened to her words and finally calmed her down, but Wang was still uneasy in her heart. The abilities of Han Yu and the Su family are beyond the reach of ordinary people, and this matter has touched their bottom line, so they will not be lenient. However, in just 2 days, all the young people who went to trouble Su Wenyu in the past few days were caught. There was only one young man named Zhang Qing, who had gone somewhere, but he had not been found despite so many people searching for him. Because of this incident, Su Hongxian came to the Han family more frequently in the past few days. Secondly, he was also worried about his sister's health. He always had to watch and tell Su Wenyu several times to give Su Wenyu the tonic soup that An specially asked him to bring. After drinking, he discussed things with Han Yu. Seeing the brother and sister Su Hongxian and Su Wenyu talking and laughing, and having such a good relationship, Han Yu actually felt a little sour in his heart. He intentionally or unintentionally separated Su Hongxian. Han Yu would never admit that it was him who was petty and that a man looked at him. My wife will feel uncomfortable talking and laughing with other men, even if that man is his second brother-in-law. When Su Hongxian saw Han Yu acting like this, he despised his brother-in-law even more. Seeing how stingy he was, Yu was his sister. He, as his elder brother, had loved her for more than 10 years. He had watched Han Yu since he was a child, but he was suddenly betrayed by others. Some people couldn't stand it when the brother and sister just got so intimate and talked about their feelings without even saying anything. Su Hongxian is a sister-in-law and has always disliked Han Yu. Neither of them likes each other. However, these two men can control themselves and know the importance. The most important thing at the moment is to take down those daring gangsters. They were arrested to avenge Su Wenyu, so even if they didn't like each other, it wouldn't affect their cooperation. Ah! What are you doing? You scared me to death. Zhang Chunlin was startled when someone pulled her from behind. She said angrily when she saw the person coming, but then she remembered that the person in front of her was someone Han Yu and the Su family were searching for. Zhang Qing's expression changed again. Zhang Qing, why are you here? Didn't you hide out? Why are you here? My fourth cousin and people from the Su family are looking for you all over the world. How dare you stay in the village if you don't hide out? Aren't you afraid of being caught? Zhang Chunlin looked around nervously, fearing that she would be seen with Zhang Qing. Smelly bitch, if it weren't for you, how could I have ended up like this, being chased around like a wild dog? You actually have the intention to hang out here, because you have made up your mind that Han Yu will not do anything to you. What a fool. I think Han Yu is very attached to his wife, otherwise he wouldn't have tried so hard to kill our brothers. If he knew about the relationship between you and us, and this matter you begged us to do it, what do you think will happen to you, and Han Yu can spare you? You, what do you want? Anyway, it was you who did it has nothing to do with me. Who can prove that I ordered it? Even if you tell me, my cousin may not believe it. Zhang Chunlin used the trick that Wang had told her to deal with Zhang Qing, but it was obviously not feasible and would only make Zhang Qing angry. Zhang Qing had a lot of anger in his stomach, and he had been hiding in the mountains for the past few days. He didn't know how to hunt, so he could only pick some wild fruits to fill his stomach. He couldn't stand the hunger and cold, so he risked his life to find Zhang Chunlin. But now Zhang Chunlin's attitude was obviously a lesson. Zhang Qing didn't say anything, first dragged Zhang Chunlin into the bushes and gave her a random XX, then let her go and talked about business. I have been hiding in the mountains for the past few days. Han Yu and the people of the Su family must not have thought that I didn't escape, but hid in the nearest place. But there is no food in the mountains, and my family must be under surveillance. You have to prepare food for me and send it to me every day. This is also the main purpose of Zhang Qing's visit to Zhang Chunlin. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, TNNI. Chapter 119. What? You want me to bring you food? No, absolutely not. What if we are discovered? Zhang Chunlin was tying her clothes. When she heard Zhang Qing's request, she was so frightened that she refused in a hurry. She was now frightened, for fear of Han Yu and the Su family were suspicious of her, so how could they dare to get involved in this matter? But since Zhang Qing had come to find her, it was not Zhang Chunlin's fault. No, Zhang Qing looked at Zhang Chunlin with a half-smile, as if he was mocking her naivete. Smelly bitch, if it weren't for you, I would be in this situation, but now I want to put it aside. Is there such a cheap thing in the world? If you don't want to, instead of starving to death in the mountains and forests, I'd better go now find Han Yu and let him know what his good cousin has done. See if your good cousin will forgive you. Zhang Qingqi, a naked threat. In fact, Zhang Chunlin does not have that much weight to ask Zhang Qing and others to do such a thing. Zhang Qing and others would agree at first. Although they had tasted the sweetness from Zhang Chunlin, it was because of excessive greed. At this time, Zhang Qing and others would agree. But they all blamed Zhang Chunlin. Zhang Chunlin couldn't understand so much, so she was frightened by Zhang Qing's threat. You, don't go looking for your fourth cousin, why don't I give it to you? But I live in the Han family now, and the food I can get is really limited, otherwise people will find out. I can't control this. It's your business. You can figure it out on your own. I'm like this because of you. If I can't do it, huh? And if you haven't saved your private money, if the Han family really does it, no, you can use the money to buy it in the village. Besides, you have taken advantage of us brothers before. Don't try to use those excuses to prevaricate me. You can't afford the consequences. Zhang Chunlin gave up after hearing what Zhang Qing said. She could only agree honestly, otherwise there was no other way. Zhang Qing didn't stay long after he achieved his goal. He was holding on to the most dangerous place and the safest place, so he hid in the nearby mountains instead of escaping outside. Now it seems that this decision was right. All the brothers who fled were captured by Han Yu and the Su family, but even so, they still couldn't stay here for a long time. It would be bad if they were caught by an acquaintance, so they had better go back to the mountains first. In the past few days, because of the pursuit of the gangsters, the Han family members were out searching, but the family members did not pay much attention to Zhang Chunlin. Although Han Yu was suspicious of Zhang Chunlin, he did not know who the captured ones were. For some reason, Zhang Chunlin was not recruited, so Han Yu knew that the matter was related to Zhang Chunlin but did not deal with it. Instead, he searched hard to find Zhang Qing. These were the culprits who hurt his wife, several gangsters. As for the leader among them, Zhang Chunlin, the treatment would be the same sooner or later. If she could escape, the monk would not be able to escape from the temple. Others did not notice Zhang Chunlin, but one person was different. Ms. Lu had always been very cold towards Yang Juxiang and her daughter. The gossip she had told Su Wenyu before, Mrs. Lu was convinced that this incident must have something to do with Zhang Chunlin, so seeing Zhang Chunlin sneaking around, she became more attentive. Han Yu and the people from the Su family searched for several days, almost all of Xinyi City and nearby towns, but no one was found. It is said that Zhang Qing fled in a hurry and did not bring everything with him, nor did he have the ability to buy anything. Horses or carriages rely on one pair of legs, and the distance is really limited. It's strange that Zhang Qing can't be found despite searching everywhere. Han Yu couldn't find anyone, so he came back and sat quietly for a while to clarify his thoughts. He was too anxious to avenge his wife, so he ignored some details. At this time, Mrs. Lu happened to come over and talk to Zhang Chunlin. The past few days have been unusual. Han Yu's face was condensed, and his eyes were filled with coldness. Zhang Chunlin, this stupid woman who doesn't know what to call. Because of his own mother, Han Yu didn't want to make things difficult for Yang for the sake of Yang. Although he ignored Zhang Chunlin, he didn't do anything to Zhang Chunlin. At most, he had a cold attitude. In many things, people are still tolerant, but it's a pity that Su Wenyu was injured this time, which touched Han Yu's bottom line. Han Yu was not going to let Zhang Chunlin go. Because Su Wenyu was injured, she listened to the doctor's instructions and Han Yu watched, and lay in bed for a few days. When she recovered, she couldn't lie down anymore. "Miss, the doctor told you to lie down and rest. I also told you before going out. You must promise well." As early as after Su Wenyu was injured, Su Hongxian called Xiao 11 back from the village to take care of Su Wenyu, and sent another veteran to the village to help. Xiao 11 looked at his young lady helplessly and resolutely followed the orders of the doctor and uncle. "Order. Xiao 11, your lady has been lying in bed these days, and her bones are almost tender. Just do it. Let your lady go out and get some air," Su Wenyu said helplessly. It was obvious that her neck was injured. It would be fine once she recovered, but the doctor and Han Yu both treated her as a seriously ill person and had to let her rest in bed. In particular, Han Yu seemed to be frightened by what happened that day. He stubbornly followed the doctor's orders and refused to change. If he didn't have to deal with those gangsters, he would personally stay in front of the bed and watch Su Wenyu. Even if he smoked now without getting out of his way, he also gave Xiao 11 a death order. Xiao 11 put Su Wenyu in danger because she did not insist on accompanying Su Wenyu back that day. Although no one blamed her afterwards, she felt very guilty in her heart. This time she resolutely obeyed Han Yu's instructions and did not discount Han Yu's words at all. No fighting unless necessary. Su Wenyu looked at Zioxi like this, and she felt helpless. Whose maid was this? She followed Han Yu's orders so meticulously. However, after saying so much, she felt a little tired and fell asleep again. Zioxi looked at her young lady and was worried. Could it be that the young lady was really suffering from a serious illness? Otherwise, why would the doctor make such a request? Moreover, the young lady did look very strange these days. She was in a bad mood and seemed to be asleep all day long. She was particularly sleepy. She always felt that it was not as simple as being sleepy. She had to take good care of her. Later, she would tell her brother-in-law and ask him to invite a doctor to see the young lady. Zioxi was a girl who had never been married. Although she was trained to be capable by the Suhenji brothers, she was still inexperienced in some aspects and did not think about other problems. Su Wenyu was sleeping soundly, but there was a commotion outside. Ever since Lu said that something was wrong with Zhang Chunlin, Han Yu had been keeping an eye on her. Sure enough, he discovered that Zhang Chunlin was secretly delivering food to Zhang Qing. Naturally, she could not escape from them, so Zhang Chunlin was tied up by Han Yu and brought back together with Zhang Qing. Rebirth of a Farming Wife. Author, Tian Ni. Chapter 120. Cousin, I didn't mean it. I was coerced by them. They forced me to do this. Please forgive me this time. Anyway, my cousin is fine, Jang Chunlin cried pitifully. She begged Han Yu in an attempt to make Han Yu relent and let her go, but it was obvious that she overestimated her own weight and underestimated Su Wenyu's status in Han Yu's mind. Han Yu had no evidence before, so he couldn't do anything to Jang Chunlin, otherwise his own mother would have to stop him. Now that he had caught Jang Chunlin, how could he let him go? However, Jang Chunlin was so expressionless and sophistry. To escape responsibility and get entangled with him, the last sentence made Han Yu angry. What does it mean to be okay? Thinking of the heart-wrenching scene at that time, Han Yu was still frightened. He unexpectedly kicked Jang Chunlin in the heart, and with some real strength, he almost kicked Jang Chunlin until she vomited blood. It was because of Yang's. For his sake, Han Yu didn't use all his strength. He didn't intend to let Jang Chunlin go. If Yang saw Jang Chunlin vomiting blood, she would definitely beg for mercy. It would be too easy for Jang Chunlin to kick her like this. Even so, Jang Chunlin still screamed, with a bit of sadness in her voice. Firstly, it really hurt from being kicked by Han Yu, and secondly, she didn't believe that her cousin, whom she had always admired and liked, would be so cruel to her. Unfeeling, even if Jang Chunlin had known about Han Yu's coldness, she still couldn't accept such a cruel reality. In her heart, she was different from others, especially after seeing Han Yu's usual attitude towards Su Wenyu, Jang Chunlin once caught in fantasy. Everyone in the Han family came out when they heard the commotion outside, and saw Jang Chunlin sitting on the ground looking at Han Yu with an accusing and aggrieved look on her face, with tears still hanging on her face, looking pitiful. The young man who was tied aside was Zhang Qing from the neighboring village. Su Wenyu might not know him, but most of the Han family knew him. Although Zhang Qing was a young man from the neighboring village, he often hung out with several young men from Xinhe village who were not doing their jobs properly. He does a lot of bad things on weekdays, and his reputation in the village is not good. Especially after this incident, Han Yu did not deliberately conceal the identity of the gangster. Everyone in the Han family knew that this was the person Han Yu had been searching for these days. And now Zhang Qing appears in the Han family, and Jang Chunlin looks like this. It's hard not to think about it. Ms. Lu had known for a long time that Jang Chunlin was involved with those young people, and she discovered the clues first this time, so she immediately made a conclusion when she saw such a scene. Her mother-in-law did not dare to take any action, but I couldn't help but whisper, "Shameless adulterer." Fourth brother, what's going on? Old man Han frowned, his eyes swept over Jang Chunlin with a hint of disgust, but for the sake of his old wife, he still asked the reason. Yes, fourth child, why are you tying up Chunlin? Did she do something to make you angry? Yang also asked anxiously. It wasn't that she liked Jang Chunlin much, but Jang Chunlin was her biological relative after all. My niece, my sister specially entrusted her with her before she went back. Ask her what good things she has done. What happened to Yu Enyang this time was all because of her. How did the Han family treat her badly? Yu Enyang had nothing against her, but she didn't know what to do and she was so young. But he is so vicious, in order to deal with Yu Enyang, he even disregards his integrity. If Yu Enyang had not been so loyal, I would have been ruined by her. She is really vicious. Han Yu is not a man of many words. He explained so much just to let his family know how hateful and unforgivable Jang Chunlin is, so that Yang has no reason to protect Jang Chunlin. He is determined to make Jang Chunlin responsible for his actions. The price has been paid. What does this mean? Although Yang was disappointed with Jang Chunlin, she didn't think her niece was that bad. Even if some of Jang Chunlin's behaviors were really inappropriate, she thought Jang Chunlin was motivated by his temper. He was obsessed with his son, so he targeted Su Wenyu everywhere, so he was a little more tolerant towards Jang Chunlin. Now Han Yu's words clearly meant that Jang Chunlin did it when Su Wenyu was intercepted by gangsters. He subconsciously didn't want to believe it, feeling impossible. Yang's reaction made Lu anxious. She couldn't wait and spoke, "Mom, why don't you understand? The fourth child's words are not obvious. Zhang Chunlin, a shameless woman, has no regard for her shame. It's so cruel to hook up with outsiders and harm the fourth daughter-in-law. If the fourth daughter-in-law hadn't been so powerful, her reputation would have been ruined a long time ago, and I don't know what would happen to her. Such a woman should be imprisoned in a pig cage." When Ms. Lu said that she saw her mother-in-law's expression getting worse, she felt that she had gone too far, so she kept silent and did not continue. After all, Zhang Chunlin was her mother-in-law's niece. Fourth, is this really what the boss's wife said? Yang still had a glimmer of hope. Chunlin seemed to be a good child in the past. Although she was a little paranoid because of the matter with Fourth, why did she become like this? "Mom, do you know how I caught Zhang Cheng? It was thanks to your good niece that she ran to the mountains to deliver food to people, so I found out. Do you need me to say anything else?" Han Yu, as he spoke, there was a sneer on his face, and when he looked at Zhang Chunlin, he saw something dirty. "Chunlin, why are you so confused? You have a daughter who hasn't even announced her marriage yet. How can you get involved with those men and give up your good reputation? Besides, Yu Eniang is also your sister-in-law. How can you do this?" Ms. Yang was angry and worried at the same time. Judging from her son's attitude, it was clear that she didn't intend to let her niece go, but if something happened to her niece, how would she explain it to her elder sister? Although she was also angry about what her niece did, Yang had a different idea because her daughter-in-law was just safe and sound. Su Wenyu was woken up by Zioxi when she was sleeping soundly. Zioxi didn't want to wake up, but the person who came was her daughter's mother-in-law. Although Yang said that she was waiting for Su Wenyu to wake up, Zioxi was not stupid and didn't know what to do. How could she really let Yang wait like that and let the mother-in-law wait outside for her daughter-in-law to wake up? Even if Yang didn't mind, Zioxi couldn't let her daughter bear this arrogant reputation. "Miss, wake up. What's wrong? Why wake me up?" Su Wenyu was still a little confused when she woke up. She looked at Zioxi puzzledly and heard her mother-in-law's anxious voice. "Mother Yu, I am in a difficult situation and don't want to disturb your sleep. Chunlin was wrong in the first place. I am too embarrassed to ask you for her. But the fourth brother wants to send Chunlin to the government. What should I do? Chunlin is a girl. If she is really sent to the government, her life will be ruined.